What is going on this morning, YouTube? Northeast Ohio Sports Cards, and we are here for a weekend review. We're trying this live again this week. Hopefully this goes better than last week when I had two streams going at the same time and missed an entire chat. So I think I figured out that issue. And we should be live in just one stream with just one chat, and we will see how this goes this week. Also trying this at a different time. I figured in the morning would be better since there is no actual sports on yet, because I know you guys would much rather watch basketball than listen to me yammer on. So let's get into it. I got some stuff I want to go over, just kind of recapping the last week, some shenanigans that happened in the wonderful world of sports, and then we'll dive in the chat and see what's going on and answer some questions and BS for a little bit and stuff. So got the new mic. This is the second time using it, so hopefully I sound okay. I don't appear to be peaking too much, but I can make adjustments if we need to on the fly. So let's get into some things. It's been a wild week. Let's start off with basketball first. So I have market movers up here, and this is the price movements by card chart. And this, I have it sorted right now by number of sales, and this is only showing cards that are in market movers. So it's not every card that's in the market or anything, but it's a lot of popular cards. Most popular cards are in market movers. So the first thing you notice is there's a lot of red on top. And as I scroll down, there's some green, red, green, red, 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 green, red, red. A month ago when you looked at this chart, it was solid green all around. And that's not the case anymore. So the number, what's up, Ziggy? So the top card on the chart is the Ja Luminance, which isn't surprising. Chronicles just came out. And 460 have sold in the last 7 days, and it's down 40%. This to me is not alarming. This is normal. New product comes out. It's, the singles sell for a lot because they're first on the market, and then the market corrects itself and prices dip and adjust and get to where they should be. MPJ is off, and some of these players we're going to talk about individually, but I just found it curious that most of the cards at the top of this chart that are leading in sales this week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are in the red. Now, 2 of those are from Chronicles, but you see an MPJ Prism, Luka Prism, and LeBron Prism, all from the last couple years, are all in the red. In the green, we see some Tyler Hero, Kobe Bryant, some Ja, some Mitchell, so on and so forth. But I just found it interesting that the market on a lot of these guys is trending down, which I think is normal because these teams are going to start, leaving the playoffs, the teams that are down 3-0, the guys that haven't been performing well, the guys that are hurt. It's natural for their prices to go down. It's interesting to me is how quick and how low do they go. And I think it's a race to the bottom on some of these guys for the sell-off. So let's get in and talk about some individual players / cards. And this is our weekly, what are Zion and Ja doing this week? Check. I figured we'd start with that. So over the last 7 days, their base prisms have semi-leveled off. They're down 5% and a little over 7%, or 6% and 7%. Zion's still floating right around 600. Ja has dipped below 500. I think this is going to be, like I said in previous videos, what we see. These are going to continue to slowly trickle down. I think we've seen the big spike on both of them, downward spikes, less so on Ja. And they're going to relatively level out and stay flat I think they continue to slightly trend down throughout the playoffs as money shifts to the guys that are still playing, and people sell off stuff to buy whatever the hot thing is that they want. So once again, this to me looks completely normal, um, quote unquote healthy. I mean, these cards should go down when guys play bad, and guys aren't playing anymore when they leave the playoffs, etc. That to me shows that the market is at least functioning normally, not like the previous 6 months, or not 6 months, but 4 to 5 months, where since March everything just went up because no one was doing anything. So the fact that guys are doing things now and prices are fluctuating on that, I think is good. I do think there's a lot of overreaction in the market on both sides. We'll see some of that here on some of these individual cards. And the actually perfect example, Luka. This is Luka's base Prism and Luka's base Optic, both in PSA 10. This is over the last 7 days. And he is in a, I don't want to call it a nosedive. The numbers look big because his price is so high to begin with. But, you know, Luka PSA Prism started the week at 1,800. Just prior to this week, if I go back 14 days on this chart, it was above 2K. And the weird thing here is it started dropping after his second game, after his first game, which they lost. I mean, them losing game 1 to the Clippers isn't like the craziest thing in the world. The Clippers are heavy favorites in that series. Like, them dropping a game is whatever. But as soon as they lost that game, his price, I think it lost about 5 or 10%. Then the second game, he played extremely well, and his price still creeped down. And then we had the third game where he sprained his ankle. They lost, and it's he's a game time decision for this afternoon's game. So I don't think Luka's going to crater down to where he was prior to that big spike that he had. But I think he's going to come down a little bit more. I could see this settling under 1,500, assuming they don't win today. A lot of it's going to depend on what they do. But without Luka and a gimpy Luka, I think they're in a little bit of trouble. They really got screwed in that first game with Porzingis getting tossed. I think they would have won that game without him. But Luka is one of the ones I feel like this is a little bit more of a market correction. His price was a little too inflated at above that 2K price. But on the flip side, I am not selling Luka. Luka is one of the best long-term holds in the market. I just feel I'm not moving him unless I need to. I have a bunch of Luka graded stuff. Nothing too crazy high, and I don't even have a PSA 10 base Prism. I have a BGS 9.5, and I have a bunch of his optics and some other side stuff and some raw stuff. That would be one of the last cards that I sell. If I was looking to move stuff to, get money to buy other product or whatever. So I think he continues to trend down a little bit, and then essentially he will flatten out as well, just like all these other guys. It's just a matter of where that flat point comes. And that's assuming that they don't, pull a rabbit out of their hat and win this series. But I can see him dipping below 1,500, maybe leveling out around there. But Luke is one of the best long-term holds. If it gets so low, people are going to go out and start grabbing it. So I just don't see him going back down to his, if we pull up let's look at the 30-day chart on these. Yeah. So this is when 8-8, this day here is when he went crazy in those bubble games, and he had like a 30-20-10 or whatever the hell it was in like back-to-back games. He had 2 ridiculous triple doubles, and his prices went crazy. They went from just over 1,300 to 1,400 up to 2,000 in almost 2 to 3 days. And now you see him tailing back down again. I think worst case scenario, he levels out around that $1,300 to $1,500 mark, and then stays relatively flat from there throughout the off season, and then starts creeping back up again. Just glancing at chat really quick. Yes, step back. We are live in one chat room this time, and yes, this is Market Movers, and I did go to business school. Nice little inside joke there with Step Back Sports. If you guys need a good podcast to listen to, go check out Step Backs. Feel free to link to that Step Back. It's we don't necessarily always agree on everything. We talk often, but he has a little bit different approach than I do, but his approach is still good. He's a little bit more value conscious. So if that's what you're into, he talks a lot of 90s stuff, but I don't know that Luka goes all the way back to 1,000. Luka's the future of the league. And at some point in time, people are going to gobble him up again. But yeah, I could see us getting back to like this point here, and you know, this inflated number comes back down again, and then we level off. And then I think most of these guys just stay flat throughout the offseason. At this point, we don't know when next season's going to start yet. The early rumors were December 1st, but that seems to not be the case. They're now talking about post-Christmas. You know, they want fans in the stadium again. There's less talk of a second bubble or multiple bubbles. So originally the thought was that the NBA offseason was going to be super short. We're going to have a quick ramp up and we're not going to have a long offseason. I don't know that that's the case now. It sounds like that's not going to be the case, that it's going to be January or February before this starts back up again. Once we crown an NBA champion, I'll be curious to see what happens to the market if it flips back to the post-pandemic shutdown where we basically had an offseason, no one did anything for 4 months, and prices all went up. You know, I think there'll be a dip right after the finals, and then everything starts creeping back up again after the finals. The question is when does the season start, which at this point no one really knows yet. Let's look at MPJ. His stuff has cratered. This is his base Prism. Now he's still up from his pre-spike. This was about a $200 card. It shot up to $500, and it is down 25% over the last 7 days. And this is a combination effect of he has had 2 bad games. The Nuggets look like crap, which I was extremely disappointed in them. I thought they would beat the Jazz, or at least had a good shot to beat the Jazz, and they just look outmatched. And his stuff is backsliding. Once again, I don't think it gets back to the previous level because people have now seen what he could be, but it's not going to stay obviously at $500 a card. You know, maybe this bottoms out at around 300-ish, which is still up 100 from where it was before the bubble started. But there's definitely a big retraction in Michael Porter Jr. And he would be someone, I like MPJ a lot. I don't know that Malone likes him a lot. But he is someone that if he cratered back out again, I would be looking to buy because I think he is the future of that team and is going to get a bunch of minutes next year. Remember, he didn't basically play this season until the bubble. So, and he's proven he is an offensive talent. He can just put up monster numbers. You can't play a look at defense right now, but he would be someone that I would definitely be targeting in the offseason once I see his prices start to level out. And I'm going to do a future video, I think, on guys that I'm tracking prices on during the offseason and later into the playoffs when the money shifts to the guys still playing, and see if there's guys either not playing or guys from the Delete 8 that are some buying opportunities that got quote unquote forgotten about. So, Donovan Mitchell, the flip side. We talked about MPJ going down because he's playing like crap. Mitchell's stuff has skyrocketed because he was playing excellent. He went ballistic in the first game, which they lost. He's continued to play well. They've won 2 in a row. In his 7-day chart, they're up 30%. He was the darling of undervalued. He was the cover child of every YouTube video in the world and talking head sports card guy of top X players undervalued in the current market. He led that charge forever. And he is now finally seeing his market correction. So this is not very surprising. I like Mitchell at his current prices. I don't know that I like him as much now, though they will probably keep going up if they keep winning. That's basically the trend. If guys play well and they win, prices go up, water is wet. And then as soon as they play bad or get bounced, prices nosedive. And it's just a matter of how much do they nosedive. But yeah, Mitchell stuff's been on fire. And I'll be curious. That's the main game I want to watch today is the Jazz Nuggets to see what happens there. Do the Nuggets have any fight left, or do they lay down? Because they did not look good in the last game. So, but yeah, I could definitely see Mitchell continuing to climb. And Mitchell would be a very good long-term hold. I don't know that I see him staying in Utah forever. I could easily see him piecing out of there at some point in time and going to a larger market team. And if that's the case, he would get a nice price increase as well. So I like Mitchell as a very long-term hold. Next one, and this is one that we've talked about a few different times, that I wanted to track to see what happened to these guys after they bounced. And this is Devin Booker's PSA 10 Prism. This card was sky high and has really come down the last 7 days. This started the week at $1,300 and is now down 25%. That is a big decrease in a week. And it looks like maybe he's leveling off. He dipped down to 850 and then it spiked back up again to 930. So I'll be curious when we look at Booker next week if he's remained flat or keeps going down. But let's look at the 14-day chart on him. So over the last 14 days, he is still up, but barely up. You could see, I mean, this is a hell of a swing in a 2-week period. He started this 2-week period at around $900, peaked at almost 1,500, and is now right back down to where he started. This was the week here where the Suns went the 8-0 run, and then you could see the point right where they got bounced, and then poof, right back down to where he was. If we go back 30 days on Booker, I think he's still going to be way up if you go out 30 days. He's up 87%. So you still did quite well if you got on Booker early. But if you bought the hype train of the Suns here and you did not sell here, you've essentially just washed out, which is fine. Booker's still a pretty good long-term hold. He is super young. I forget how old he is, but he is very young. So my guess here is that he just levels right back out again. The pre-bubble price, I assume he sticks relatively close to that. He's an extremely good young player. But it's just interesting when you look at these graphs on a zoomed out view, how the market handles these cards as they go back down again. And I think, timing the market on when to sell if you're not into these guys for the long term is key. And I've been complaining to Step Back actually about this is selling's hard. Buying's real easy. You pop on the eBay, you pop on the MySlabs, you pop on the Discord, Facebook, whatever, throw a couple offers out to people, work out a deal, buy it, cool, the card comes. The flip side of that is way more difficult unless you're just willing to take price at the absolute lowest price point that there is. You throw the cards up on eBay, you wait for offers to come in, or you do an auction and potentially take that risk. You start posting on 17 different buy-sell trade groups, and you start dealing with the idiots with their lowball prices. And will you ship to Africa? And will you take my money from a Nigerian prince? And all this nonsense. And selling is just a straight pain in the butt. Buying's easy. Selling sucks. Selling is hard. And remember, you could pull up a My Collection tool or whatever you track your stuff in, an Excel spreadsheet, whatever, and see that your cards have gone up $10,000 or whatever, but that's not actual real money until you go to sell it. So remember that. Profit is not profit until it's in your PayPal account. Profit on a Market Movers tool, My Collection page is, I don't want to say it's meaningless, but it's not real. I can't take my pick whatever you want, my Luka Optic down here, PSA 10 that on Market Movers is $800 and go walk into Best Buy and buy a new iPad with it or whatever. It takes time to sell this stuff, and timing the market when a market's hot like this on a player, you could have bought here, sold here, and rebuy it back and still be up money. But knowing when to sell, I think, is the hardest part of this whole hobby, quote unquote, investing thing that we're in, and dealing with the selling side. Just selling is a pain in the ass. It is not fun. It is not a fun experience. And I think people just think that I got my $1,000 Luka, I have $1,000. Well, you don't. And good luck tracking it down. You could do it, but it's not as simple as just walking to the debit or ATM machine and swiping your card and telling it you want $1,000 out. Next one. And this is one that I'm just tracking because I think his prices are to the point where they might be too low. And I'm really curious how low they go. And that's Ben Simmons. This is his PSA 10 optic and his PSA 10 prism. Over the last 7 days, he's down another 20 to 25%. His base optic is down to $126, and his base prism is down to $285. Simmons, I understand the Sixers are playing like garbage and they're toast, and he's hurt anyways, but his knee injury was minor. This is not going to affect him in the next season at all. He's extremely young. He's extremely good. There's a chance he gets traded. He's a triple-double machine. I understand he can't shoot. He has his issues, but he's one of the best defensive players in the league. And the 76ers, on paper, are going to be another good regular season team next year, unless they blow the whole thing up, which I doubt that's the case. So he's my leading candidate for these guys got too cheap on the race to the bottom. And where is the bottom? And there's going to be a point where it's time to start buying these guys. Now, when you buy someone like Ben Simmons, this is not a quick flip. You're not buying him to sell it in a week when it triples because he had a good game. You're buying him to hold on to him to potentially January, February, March, or well into next season, depending on how long you want to hold for. But he is going to hit the bottom at some point soon here. I can't imagine he gets much lower. I'm surprised he's come down this much already. But this really shows, we look at his 30-day chart, what the race to the bottom can be like. His PSA 10 prism was up over $600, and it's just been in a tailspin since. It's down 40% from the beginning of the 30-day. Let's see, where was his peak at? It was 8.2. So let's go 8.1 to today. Yeah, he's down half, 50%, because he got a knee injury and missed the bubble/playoffs. So if you were investing in him prior to, and I bought one of these for around 225, 230 prior to the playoffs starting, and I think like the next day he busted his knee up. These guys, when they fall, man, they fall hard. That's what this last 30 days have shown me. When the market goes to sell one of these guys off for whatever reason, they go into a sell-off. And like I said, I do think there's going to be a massive buying opportunity on not even necessarily Ben Simmons, but guys like this. If you could find them and you pick the ones that you like, that when the season rolls back around again, these prices are could potentially take back off again. But once again, it's a long-term hold. You're tying that money up for 3, 4, 5 months potentially on someone like that, because his stuff's not going to start going way back up again until right before the season starts. So I'm not ignoring you, chat, but I just want to get through these couple things, and then I will bounce over and see what you guys are talking about. We're going to skip over this Morant Luminance because we've kind of already talked about this on the original thing. And I wanted to actually, we'll use this to talk about Chronicles as a whole. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk about for this last week. Hunting retail product. Hunting retail product right now is an absolute shit show. Sorry, kids. It is a disaster out there right now. I've never seen it like this. Prism was readily available on the shelves, but the market wasn't what it was when Prism was out. It was a different world, and that was only 9 months ago to 10 months ago. Optic is when the retail fever started, essentially, late into the Prism cycle. And then Mosaic is when it kind of went off the rails. And Chronicles, it is fully off the rails. I can't tell you how many stores I've swung into this week where there are... The first week Chronicles came out, I went to a couple Targets, and there were... the Target closest to me, which restocks on a Monday, I stopped in there. There was 12 people waiting in line, and that Target has limits in place. The most you can get is like 2 to 3 SKUs essentially. And that's great. These guys have been in line for like 2 hours waiting for the vendor to show up because they figured out a schedule, which is what you should do. If you're in the retail game, you put the legwork in and figure that stuff out. But it's gotten out of control. Like, I'm not going to go stand in Target for 2 to 3 hours knowing that the vendor comes in to get 2 blaster boxes of freaking Chronicles, which is a low tier product to begin with. And the stories and stuff floating around social media is insane. I might have talked about this last week, but there was 2 cases, one in Columbus, Ohio, and one in Texas, where someone impersonated as a vendor and walked into the back of the store. And in one case, looked, cleared out the back and straight stole it from like 5 or 6 stores. And in another case in Columbus, Ohio, went in, loaded up the cart, wheeled it to the front, and checked himself out, which is cool. At least the guy paid for it. To me, that's actually pretty smart. Now, that's probably some form of breaking and entering, or some sort of law was broken there impersonating a vendor. But at least the dude paid for the stuff. I'm all for ingenuity. But yeah, it's the retail game is nuts. And there are rumors circulating late this week. And I don't know how true this stuff is, but I've seen it in multiple different places, but it could just be Facebook shenanigans. That both Target and Walmart are seriously considering changing the retail landscape. And what I mean by that is there's been rumors floating around that they may just not want to deal with it anymore. I know a lot of my Targets are already putting it behind the customer service counter. It doesn't even see the shelf. The vendor literally hands the boxes to the front desk, and you have to go up to the front desk to get it. There's still 12 guys in line waiting for him to drop the box off. And that's what these stores are getting sick of. There's a pandemic on, there's social distancing mandates, masks, the whole nonsense. They don't want 12 people lined up in their cart aisle, which in some of these Walmarts is a self-checkout aisle. So I think by next basketball season, the retail landscape could drastically switch. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think Target and Walmart make much money off this crap to begin with, because they third party out anyway. It's through the vendors. And the vendors are sick of it too. They're getting stocked from store to store. They're getting harassed. There's been talks of fights between different people. I was at a store on Friday on my way back. It's not an area I'm normally in. It's kind of out in the boonies. And I swung in, and the MJ Holdings vendor was there. And there was 3 guys lined up already. I didn't even bother walking up. And I kind of cruised past and just listened in on their conversation. And they were already like, well, I was here before you were. I just stepped away, like that kind of crap. And they were all up in the vendor's space. And I felt so bad for that guy. Because he's just trying to do his $12 to $15 an hour job. And these idiots are just all over him. It's sad. The retail hunting game is sad right now. Sorry for that little rant about that, but let's move on to the next thing, and that is baseball. And then I got one other thing to talk about, and then we'll see what chat's talking about. Fernando Tatis. This dude is absolutely on fire right now. And his stuff keeps going crazy. Over the last 7 days, he's up another 20%, and his stuff just goes up like 20% every week because the guy just keeps hitting home runs. And the trend is continuing here, where we see that the Chrome has still been outpacing the paper, which isn't necessarily normal in the baseball markets. You can see here the Chrome's over 300 and the paper is just under 300. And that trend keeps continuing on. I checked Soto before this, and they're like bouncing back and forth between the two. So I just wanted to touch on the baseball market really quick. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about before we see what chat's up to. PSA. All right. I know of now at least 3 group submitters that PSA has shut down. There was one in a large group in California about a month and a half ago that got shut down due to card cleaning services that they offered. And what they mean by card cleaning is that's not just, taking your microfiber cloth and wiping down the front of the card to get your fingerprints off. You're okay to do that. Some of these guys use car wax and other foreign substances to help repair scratches and cracks and whatnot. Surface issues can be quote unquote repaired. There is another group that got banned early last week, SubHub, which he offered card cleaning services, repairs, work on corners, quote unquote, clean cards, that sort of stuff. And PSA shut him down. Now, the one that really gained a lot of attention was this Blowout one. Blowout is one of the largest online retailers and the largest online forum for sports cards in the entire hobby. And they have a retail store, and they ran a PSA submission through their retail store, which also got shut down this week. Now, the scuttlebutt on this one is this was not due to card cleaning. It was due to Blowout side of the story is it was essentially due to the Blowout forums being a thing that exists, because the Blowout forums have done a lot over the years with all the card grading companies of exposing trimmed cards and all the shenanigans that go into grading with all of the companies, PSA, BGS, SGC, I think so far has been off their radar. But they also haven't graded as much stuff in the modern market. But regardless, Blowout's store account for PSA group submissions also got shut down this week. Once again, Blowout side of the story is this is not cleaning related. I have talked to some people that don't necessarily submit through Blowout, but go into Blowout physically. And Blowout does not offer card cleaning services. So I don't think that this was for that. Whether it's what Blowout is saying, we're only getting one side of the story. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm assuming that's part of it. But you remember, if you're submitting through Blowout and you're submitting your own cards and they're not doing anything with them, you could be cleaning your cards at home and submitting them through a group submitter. And then the group submitter takes the heat for that because it's going under their name. So say I give 300 cards to Blowout, and I got, back from the car wash, got them all waxed up real nice and shiny and sent them in through Blowout, and Blowout's processing the submission and they see my 300 card order come through with car wax stripping off of them. Are they going to come back to whether it's Blowout or not, are they going to come back to the group submitter and be like, we're shutting you down, you're cleaning cards, even though the group submitter could be 100% on the up and up? The crazy part about this is with the SubHub group, and I assume Blowout's going to be the same way. The SubHub group I was in on Facebook, I've never submitted cards to them. I always submit myself. But like any cards in process, they were pulling and sending back. So imagine you sent cards in a group submission and they had been there since January, February, March on a bulk order. And now you find out that your cards aren't even going to get graded and they're coming back to you raw. Like, I'd be so pissed if you waited 8 months or whatever for your cards to get graded only to start the process entirely over again. Would be like the nightmare scenario. So this is why I like to submit on my own. There's plenty of people that are doing good things out there. Like 502 Frank is doing PSA submissions. He doesn't do any card cleaning. He just wipes them off with just a microfiber and that's it. And I know I pay a little bit more and it may be a little bit slower for me to do it myself. But to me, that is worth the trade-off over this nonsense over the last month or so with PSA shutting these people down. And I could see them if they've shut these three down, I can't imagine that they're not looking at other people as well. So just be careful if you guys are submitting through bulk order people, especially with PSA right now. Be sure whoever you're submitting with is not advertising card cleaning services, because PSA seems to be hunting those people out. And grading is a wild world right now to begin with between the three companies. They all have their significant issues to deal with. So we will see what goes on with that. That's the main stuff I wanted to get through. Let's look at chat here and see what is going on. What is up, Rage 508? One of my frequent commenters. Yeah, Luis Roberts is on absolute fire right now. His stuff is going crazy. I was just talking to Step Back Sports and Nats Man last night about maybe trying to find some Luis Roberts or Robert, however you say it, base Chrome raw and send it in the PSA to get it up and to get some stuff graded. But whatever you're sending out now for PSA, that's actually the stuff you see sitting here on the table in front of me is me going through stuff for PSA submissions. You should be submitting stuff now that you're expecting back in mid football season or pre basketball season. So like this PSA submission I'm working on now is, just to give you guys a little preview, is all stuff that would be, I'd want timed around whenever the season renews. I got some RJ Barrett based Prism in here. I got an AJ Brown field level silver, KPJ silver. I got a Kyle Lewis chrome, a Zion pink debut that I pulled out of a Mosaic cello the other day. But I'm looking at things, who's gonna be, I got this stuff to go through, another KPJ that's not going in there. Kobe White, is a guy that I'd want cards back right before whenever the season starts. So whatever you are grading right now, spin that forward 3 months. Where are we? Regardless of who you use, it's going to take, 3 months or something to get your stuff back. So, plan accordingly. When you send in a submission, you should be thinking about what's the worst case scenario I get it back. If you think it's going to be 3 months, assume 4. And maybe you get it back earlier and great, and maybe you get it back a month later. But yeah, target your grading stuff to come back in the appropriate time. I saw someone wanted Jaren Jackson Jr.'s chart. Let me pull up his really quick. We'll do base Prism. Run this, and we will go back 14 days or so. When did he get? I don't remember when he got hurt. I'm going to guess it was right here. Yeah, because he got hurt very early on. So you can see Jaren Jackson, his stuff was trending up. This is where he got hurt, I believe, or right around here, and immediately dropped again, popped back up again. And it looks like actually over the last 30 days, he's been flat. Let me go back 14. Down about 10%. Not that bad. Not that hard of a hit. Now, he's one, I don't know that I'd want to tie money up in him unless you're really wanting to hold it for the long term. If I was going to do it, it would be base Prisms at 10 to 15 bucks a piece. I don't want to tie up 200 and some bucks in a PSA 10 of him because his knee injury was legit. And he's going to be out for probably at least a portion of next season, depending on when it starts. So you're really looking at a long-term hold with him, which if you're fine with that, cool. I would be, if I wanted to buy JJJ, I would probably look more at his raw Prisms for 10 to 15 bucks a pop and then get him graded. You have plenty of time to buy him up raw now, submit him to grading, and get him back before he's even back and playing. So, AB, I do think Luka dips a little bit more. We talked about Luka. If you rewatch the video, at the beginning of the video, I do think that he probably dips a little bit more when they get bounced, unless they can pull a massive upset. It looked like Lou Bob Rage dropped back down. I was looking at some last night. It looked like he's about 30 or 35 bucks a card again on some auctions that I was running or watching. I didn't buy anything, but I was just curious. The thing I like about him is in this compressed season, they only got a month left, a little over a month left, plus the playoffs. If you buy him now and get him graded, as long as he keeps playing relatively well, I could see him being hyped to whole hell for next year when they get a full season in. So my thought on Lou Bob is buy him now, send him off to PSA, get graded, sit on him to the ramp up to next season, and sell some off prior to next season starting. I am not a baseball expert by any means. In fact, I'm not really an expert on anything besides running my mouth. So, whether that's a good plan or not, I don't know. But to me, that makes sense. My guess is his prices stay relatively flat or keep going up based off performance. They flatten out in the offseason, and then I just imagine he's going to be hyped to hell next year for a full season of play. But Jason Tatum got a lot of the last week. His stuff went up a pretty decent amount the last 7 days. I didn't pull a chart on him because we talk about Tatum a lot on here, so I didn't want to keep repeating the same guys. But yeah, Tatum's stuff is going to keep going up. Now, Tatum is one. I will be honest with you. If I had a bunch of stuff in Tatum, and this is my general approach to this, if I had a bunch of Tatum stuff, I would look, and based off what I'm seeing, like if we look at this Devin Booker chart, let's go back to Booker. Where was Devin Booker? Right here. So yeah, Devin Booker, and then got eliminated and went down. If I had a lot of Tatum stuff, I would strongly consider selling next round, early next round, like very soon, if you made really good profits on it. I could see the Raptors beating them for sure. And then I assume if Luka can go down for getting beat, anyone can go down for losing. So Tatum is not immune to this. And I'm not saying sell your whole Tatum collection off, but if you have multiples, sell one or two off to pay for, whatever you have into it. I don't have a lot of Tatum. I have a base Prism PSA 10 and I have a select PSA 10. The PSA 10 Prism I bought last year for like $20 because the market was not what it is now. Stuff was really cheap last year. But the select PSA 10 that I bought for sub 300, if that gets over 500, I think I'm going to sell it and just hold the Prism. My general consensus when it comes to this stuff is if you have multiples and the prices spike like this, sell some of them off, lock in the good profits. Then you're free rolling whatever you want to hold long term. So like I want to hold his base Prism long term. I'll lock in the nice profit on the select PSA 10 Prism or PSA 10 select. Make my money on that, and then I'm free rolling the Prism PSA 10. I picked up. I don't have one. One is in limbo, but I picked up a couple Juan Soto update PSA 10s before his price spiked up. When I get the second one, I think I might look to sell one of them. It's gone up from, I paid sub $200 for one. It's up to $275 now, $260, $275. They kind of bounce around a little bit. I might sell one immediately, lock in the $100 profit minus some fees and some things, and then I'm only into the second one for $100. That's the way that I like to treat things, is sell down, buy multiples and sell down, lock in some of the profit and sell down. Because I can tell you right now, when Tatum gets eliminated, his graph is probably going to follow this Booker one. Tatum's been building, and then he gets eliminated, and then it's going to drop off. I like Tatum as a long-term hold. We could pull Tatum up really quick here. But if you're just looking to lock in money and not wanting to hold guys for long-term, I wouldn't hesitate to sell off some Tatum. If you think that they can win this round or their next round, actually, you can see Tatum already dipped a little bit. So this is Tatum. He's been building, and then it looked like he actually dropped off. I'm surprised by that. Let me look at the detailed results here. Yeah, it looks like he stepped back. It looks like he went back just a little bit over the last. He peaked up at around 1185, just south of 1200. And is now still over 1,000. But you can see over the last 30, he is still well up. If he continues to play well, I'm going to guess that this rebounds back up and gets back up towards that $1,200 level if he keeps playing good. But if he gets bounced, I don't see why it wouldn't go look like that Devin Booker chart. So if you got in cheap back here, if you bought him for the pre-playoff run at $700, and you got a couple of them, and you could sell it for plus 1,000. Make $300 or $400 a card on it. I don't think that's a bad way to go. Whatever the card is, that's just the way that I like to do it. I like to get multiples and then sell off a couple to essentially pay for one or two of them and then free roll them. Whatever happens, happens. Then if you lose your ass on it, you already locked in some profits. If it goes crazy, it's pure profit then at that point. So what else do we got going on in chats? Rage, you have been preaching Tatum for a while. That Raptors team is really good. Maybe they maybe they beat the Raptors. They very well could, but like I said, with this market, we've seen when these guys get bounced, their prices tank. So, once again, if you're in a player for the long term, it doesn't matter. You don't care about these dips and dives. If you're in it for the quick flip, it just depends what you're in it for. You got to approach it differently. But that's the reason, like I said, if I had 3 Tatum PSA 10 Prisms that I bought for $750 prior to the playoffs starting, I could sell one now for around $1,100. Then I can hold the other 2. If they win another round, I could sell the second one, and then hold on to the third one, or whatever. That's just the way that I like to handle stuff. LeBron's base silver Prism from 2019 are solely tied into how well they do. That card has actually come down a little bit. Let me pull up LeBron here. Based off of the Lakers not looking so hot against the Blazers. Now they've kind of turned it around. Let's look at silver too. So you can see this is the last 30. This is the run up to the playoffs when his base Prisms or his 2019 Prisms went crazy. And you can see it dip back down a little bit, and it's come down even a little bit more. It's still way up from the sub $1,000 level it was before the playoffs started. Now it's still at around 1,500-1,600, and his base Prism is at 500. Honestly, if I bought a ton of these super cheap, like if you were really forward thinking and you got into a bunch of these for 10 or 15 bucks raw on the base, sent them in the PSA and got graded, and now you're sitting on a mountain of money, I'd be selling them off each round. I'd be doing exactly what I just talked about. If I had 10 of these things, even if it's raw, even if you're just talking about ungraded that you got really cheap back when they were really cheap, if I had 10 of them, I'd sell 3 now, 3 next round, 3 the following round, or whatever. Can the Lakers win the NBA championship? Yes. Do I think they will? I don't know. That team already has shown that it has some holes. And I don't know that they have enough. I mean, they have LeBron and AD, and that's pretty damn good. And they got the Kuz. Rondo's kind of back. He got back spasms last night, so he didn't play. But when you're playing guys like Caruso and J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters significant minutes, and JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, I don't know. Maybe LeBron can pull it out. LeBron is LeBron and AD is ridiculous, and I honestly think most of the value in that LeBron quote unquote rookies Laker is tied into him winning a championship this year. I think if they win one, I think the prices will go astronomically higher. But you're basically literally placing a futures bet on the Lakers to win the NBA championship on that card. I think if they don't win, the bottom is going to fall out of that thing, and it's going to fall hard. Because I think a lot of people's speculation on that are strictly based off the Lakers going to the NBA or winning the NBA championship. And if that doesn't happen, I think that one could really tank. So. See what else. I'm sure I missed some stuff in chat, but we've been going for almost an hour here, so I'm gonna wrap up. But that's pretty much all I have for you guys for the old weekend review. If you think of any other questions, throw them down in the comments. Hit some like buttons. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. All the YouTube nonsense. Thanks for busting through 600 subs. And then we'll see how quick we can get to 700. But that's all I got for you guys this week. If you have anything else, like I said, throw it in the comments down below, and we will catch you guys on the next one. I'm not sure what the next video is going to be yet. I'll wait to see how these next couple playoff games play out. But I got a PSA submission that I'm in the process of prepping. AD, just really quick on that last question, Eddie. View on AD is the same. If the Lakers win the championship, his prices are going to go astronomically crazy. If they don't, they're going to dip back down like I think everybody else's have. Booker has showed that, and I think that Devin Booker PSA 10 Prism is the template going forward for how the market is going to hit most of these guys. Same with Luka. Like, once again, if Luka can go down for getting bounced from the playoffs, anyone can go down. Luka's the future of the league behind Giannis. If his stuff is not immune to these market shifts, then nobody is. So if you think the Lakers can win the playoffs or win the NBA title, ride it into the ground. If they win, his prices will soar. If you don't, try to sell before you think they get bounced, or where you feel comfortable that you've locked in a good profit. I love AD, and it all depends. If you view AD as a long-term hold, then do your thing, stick it in a box and forget about it. But if you're just looking to lock in money to go buy the next thing, that's a different story. It just depends on what you're doing with these guys. Everyone is in this for something different. Some people are collecting these guys. Some people are sticking them in a box and not touching them. Other guys are in it to make $200 or $300 off of a flip and then move into the next thing, rinse and repeat. No one's wrong. Everyone just has a different method about going about this, which is, there's no wrong way to do this. It's, everyone's got their plan. As long as you have a plan, that's the key. Even if your plan's bad, just at least have one. But that is all I have for you guys. And we will catch you on the next one. Thanks again for growing the channel as fast as it has. And we will see you guys later in the week.